Hello, everybody. This is Mags Boland Murphy here from Boland Consultancy, and this is the Business Time Live podcast where we chew the fat with people in business, people supporting business, and people working in businesses. Today, I'm delighted to have Breege Cosgrave, who is Head of Enterprise and Economics at the Local Enterprise Office in Wexford. And she is one hell of a woman. She's been working with enterprises for as long as I know her, which is 14 years. But it's safe to say she's been doing that work a lot longer. Breege, thank you for coming today and giving us your time. It's very much appreciated. And like me, you work with SMEs every day of the week, supporting them through growth and supporting them to progress and make the right decisions, I suppose, for their businesses. Can you firstly tell us a little bit about, and I suppose just to remind people about what you guys provide in terms of support and what the function of the Local Enterprise Office is?
Okay. I suppose if you kind of take it back, some people will remember if they have my age, the City and County Enterprise Board structure. So basically in 2014, there was a decision to change the structure. So in the Local Government Act, so we came in under the local authorities as part of their overall offering, I suppose, to businesses and the broader community. So as part of that, there's 31 local enterprise offices throughout the country. And in the main, we offer exactly the same services. We have ability, I suppose, to react to local need, which is very important. But we would deliver our services kind of under three main kind of headings. The first one, I suppose, is capacity building. And that, I suppose, as a starting point, is a business advisory service. And in addition to that, we can offer clinics. You can set up one-to-one meetings with our staff. We have three staff members here, Annette, Jill, and Carmel, who deal directly with businesses, so they can provide general business advice. You need to sound out an idea, it's the starting point. So we would deal with businesses, some starting, some growing. They're at that phase. So it's a broad spectrum in terms of supports, and what they're looking for is very, very different. So the starting point, I suppose, is to make contact with the office and see an assessment in terms of what your need is and where you fit. So that could be then under capacity building, will be training or mentoring. We've a broad range of training programs, from everything from start your own business courses right through to owner manager programs, which would be a lot more in depth, obviously. We also work with stakeholders such as SETU, etc. So it's not necessarily that we have the full capacity here to provide every bit of advice to somebody, but we work with consultants such as yourself, Boland Consultancy, and with other key players there, or as I mentioned, SETU, in terms of providing that support, or indeed liaising with other groups. We also look at, particularly at kind of export development. So we would look at programs. There's a new program running there, an export program for businesses maybe that have been trading on the domestic market and now want to dip their toe in an export market. The social media training, ChatGPT, all of those are topics that we would deal with under training. So it's very much based on business need. So we would constantly kind of reach out and say, what are your needs? What are the upcoming trends, looking at sector specific training as well. So we would do training such as a support program, a start your own business program, that would lead into for food producers to get on the Food Academy program, for instance, in terms of trading with super value. We're also kind of looking at, again, the whole area of innovation. So we're looking at kind of bespoke programs, which we'll be offering this year. So say, for instance, you're in an engineering company, and again, you have your customers, etc., but you're looking maybe to expand and say, okay, what are the opportunities in the offshore wind industry? How can I develop the offering that I have to maybe look at new offerings? And this would be very much kind of linking in with SETU, etc., on that. So innovation vouchers kind of come into that. the other thing as well, business can be very, I suppose, isolating. So in terms of building that, it's the networks. We link in with the food producers network. We link in with Women in Business network. We do International Women's Day. So it's all that kind of support and information structure. So I suppose that's the first kind of pillar that we work in, is kind of capacity building, knowledge, experience, general advice. Then we kind of move on to, I suppose, more in depth for established businesses. We're kind of looking at operational efficiencies because
Yeah,
we're in business to make a profit, and that is
absolutely.
the reality.
Yeah,
And even businesses, just identifying what's the cost of my business? What's the cost of opening my doors, even if I don't trade? you know, we all have light, heat, staff, salaries, whatever. And I'm sure businesses out there are kind of going, oh my God, we struggle to pay the bills and we're not really paying ourselves. And we have to value all of that. So we look at areas such as lean for business. So looking at how can I be more efficient in terms of what we do. And a
yeah.
prime example of that, and I'd advise anyone if they're out there, is Admin Steel. And they're
But
amazing in terms of what they have done. And it's amazing in terms of how they have bought in or brought all their staff on board. So they live and breathe lean. So they're constantly saying, oh God, how can we do this more efficiently? How can we reduce inputs? How can we, maximize our outputs, etc. So that is a program that's supported. So you can actually sign up and get consultancy advice on that area. So that's one.
yeah,
Green for business is another huge area, and again, it's not um, it's not what I would describe as a like or it's a must nowadays. Businesses have to look at that. They have to look at their green credentials. They have to look at being more green in terms of what they do and efficiencies around this area. So again, there's opportunities there to work with business consultants that can help you on that journey, to do your audits, to help you get that. And again, it will help you to apply for supports such as the energy efficiency grant. So,
yeah,
I mean, there's lots of the energy efficiency grant is up to a maximum of 10,000 there. So some of these grants go hand in hand. So you're doing green or you're doing, say, digitalization in terms of looking at your operations, and then you can apply for a grant. So the consultancy helps you to look at your whole operation, and then it allows you to make informed decisions. So rather than jumping in and saying, I need solar panels or I need God knows what, or I need a digitalization system that links my web to my ordering system to my whatever, you get an independent voice who can tell you, this is what you need to do. This is, in terms of even benchmarking against what else is out there for industry. So that
mm,
is so important. A lot of businesses out there will be very familiar with the trading online voucher. That has actually been replaced by a Grow Digital voucher, and the amount has been increased up to 5,000. Now, there are different criteria on this. It can't be just a once off website. It is more about having a trading platform, it's more about efficiently and effectively digitalizing your business and looking what am I doing manually can be done so simply in another format. So it's looking at a much broader scope. So I think the message out there is, look at, if you are serious about being in business and you're serious about maximizing your bottom line, you need to look at some of these supports which are there.
I think that the last one that you mentioned, the
Mm,
digitalization piece, and that's something I'm very aware of.
mm,
I think that's incredibly valuable to businesses if they're
mm,
moving forward, and particularly in today's marketplace, because all the tech piece associated with it costs money.
yeah.
And if an SME can get support with that,
Mm,
obviously if they meet all the criteria and they're viable,
mm,
absolutely, I think they should at least, take a look at it. Two things actually bring
mm,
Adman Steel. They're a,
mm,
they're a client of yours. I know you've
mm,
worked with them. They're a business I really admire because
mm,
they are at for a business, in the middle of Wexford, just off the road to Gorey,
mm,
they have really made a mark for
Mm,
themselves when it comes to lean, and we've referred quite a number of our
mm,
clients from not just from Wexford, from other counties
mm, mm,
to do the visit, and a lot of them have done visits down there with them
mm.
and have been really, really impressed. When you see that happening, how does it make you feel? You know, when you see what the
No,
work.
you just, you know, they have actually moved on to Enterprise Ireland. We've transferred them to Enterprise Ireland. God, they must be, I'd say, nearly over 2 years at this stage. But you take immense pride, but it's not alone the pride, it's the confidence that you can say to another business, look, don't take my word for it. Go up, see the guys. This is how they implemented it, and this is how they saved. They increased their efficiencies in terms of output, and they saved money. You know what I mean? So, bottom line, I really feel passionately about not doing something for the sake of doing it. You need to have an action out of it, and it needs to be meaningful, and it needs to
Yeah,
help you in your business.
yeah, 100%.
You know,
And
yeah.
you know, that's the thing that I've seen with so many businesses, that the Leo network nationally and with
Mm,
yourselves as well, the difference it can make. But equally, I would agree with you that I don't think anything should be done, you know, just to be done. I think it needs to matter, and it needs to benefit the business and benefit
mm,
people in the business. And also, look, let's be honest, you know, your community, your environment as well at the moment, because a lot of businesses now, I know I spoke before to different Leos about this, about the lean piece. You know,
mm,
there's more credentials required now. You have to be, you know, your sustainable reporting has to
mm,
be bang on. You have to be green transparency has to be
mm,
exercised. And it doesn't really matter what size your business is. You know,
mm,
it's worth your while do this. It's also a key selling point,
mm,
because it's an influencing factor now that influences key decision
mm,
makers and buyers when they're making a choice. Will I deal with him or her?
mm,
They will look at your credentials, and they will look at your
mm,
ethos in-house as well,
mm,
as the person. Um, can you tell us a little bit more about some of the success stories that you have in the county, Breege, and those, because I know
mm,
there's a lot of them. Um,
mm,
and particularly I know there's a lot of them that are now exporting, and we've worked with a few of them. Can
mm.
you tell us a little bit about those that you helped them start up?
Absolutely. One of them, just Clive and his team in Hoop Medical, just as an example, in terms of developing that catheters in the medical device area. Again, that was a brand new startup. They own the IP. We would have dealt with them, and I suppose supported them under both a priming grant and a business expansion grant, and then assisted them in the transfer to Enterprise Ireland. They're now at, I think, 35 staff, I think was the last head count there. But that was from a one-man operation. So again, they moved premises. They're out in Ardcavan there now. But it's that whole, I suppose it's great. It's fantastic for the county as well, because it gives people courage, I suppose, to see, you know what, this can be done.
Yeah,
And often the supports are there, but people aren't tapping into the supports possibly at the right time, or they're chasing supports that maybe isn't appropriate. Like I always say to people, financial assistance is one thing and getting a grant is one thing, but the reality is probably what the game changers is the lean and the digitalization and the efficiency within it, and getting the right advice in terms of when to grow, when to, like I see a lot of businesses, for instance, and it's a common mistake that they're funding capital items, say, out of cash flow, and that's just a very simple thing. But uh, it's I suppose it's a difficult and lonely track for somebody starting from scratch, because they maybe don't have the benchmark there, and they're all things to all men. So they're trying to keep the books, they're trying to keep the few staff, employed, and they're trying to win orders and whatever. But I suppose that's where the support kind of comes in terms of assisting you along that trajectory. But
yeah,
again, it's amazing to see how Hoop has developed. Another one off the top of my head is Professional Hair Labs.
yeah,
Ryan and Daryl Margolin, like an amazing story for Wexford, and they started in Rosslare, and now they're up in Whitemill. And again, they're exporting worldwide. The Ghost brand, and it is very well known. One of theirs is copyright infringement. I think is one of the difficulties they have encountered because again, it's if you're going worldwide, it's a tricky area. But they're now manufacturing. I think the latest one, I can't remember the name, but it's two ladies up in Mayo. I think it's they're doing a skincare product for them. Boher or Bohan, I think it
Oh,
is.
I think I
Yes,
saw
they featured on Nationwide quite recently.
that. Yeah.
So it's funny, I met the girls in the RDS and I kind of went, "Oh, you're getting your product manufactured in Wexford." And I was going, "Yeah, isn't this fantastic?" Like just out of the blue, I was up at Gifted in the RDS and I spotted
Yeah,
them
great,
and I
great
had
show.
remembered them from that and the connection. But
Yeah.
these are great employers. And I think one of the benefits of, you know, the indigenous, the local, they're very vested in their county. They're very vested in their community. It's
And
that,
they're very passionate about what they do,
yes,
you know.
yes.
And I think I was having another discussion this morning with two gents about this subject that
Mm,
you have to have that passion and that resilience as well, I think,
mm,
because resilience is key, as you know, from working with these business
mm,
owners. And I'm just thinking of one or two other success stories off the top of my head. You
mm.
have Zana Cookhouse.
Yeah, Zana, Owen, and his team there, and again, it's amazing product. And I remember when he was started that he did his training in Ballymaloo. Like these almost as families.
Yeah,
You know their whole journey, and you're kind of going that they're taking on staff. And again, we would have supported him
yeah.
and that business has grown so much, and he has his white label. It's in everything from Aldi. I think he's in Aldi. He's in Super Value. He's in a lot of the Jane stores, which is super.
Nice to
And
see that. I was in
yeah,
Ardkey
yeah,
recently, up in
yeah. He's in
Washford.
Arcane.
Yeah, and I went in to just grab something for lunch,
Yeah,
and it was lovely to see the number of businesses that were there
yeah,
that were stocked from Wexford. Uh,
yeah,
and I'm only a blow-in, but I'm here for
yeah,
life. For like,
yeah.
but and another good and it's surprising that it's another food producer actually, Zyra
Mm,
Chocolates, Lee Kelly. Um,
Zaire. Yeah,
doing incredible work, and she has
yeah,
the shop in Bridgetown now as well.
yeah.
But I
Beautiful range of products. Yeah.
absolutely stunning range of products, and you've
Mm,
Meadowfield, the goat's cheese.
mm,
There's
mm.
a lot of different businesses and
Yeah.
entities out there.
Mm,
And Super Value are the academy is great.
mm,
And helping them to get into that as well, if
mm,
they meet the criteria, is
mm.
fantastic, because that's an opportunity to be on the shelf to your ideal customer. Uh,
Yeah.
and to do something a little bit different. The other thing as well, Breege, is, and it's something you guys do very well over the years, is
Mm,
the Women in Business Network. Now,
mm,
I don't get to attend those as much as I used to, because I'm working with clients all over the place. But
mm,
it's that is so I would think that that's a brilliant piece for anyone that is starting out in a business,
mm, mm,
and who want, it can be a lonely place.
mm, mm,
Or particularly, look, it's lonely for anybody, but particularly I feel for the woman who decides to, or the lady who decides to bite the bullet. And I know it
mm,
was my first port of call when I came to Wexford, was to go to one of the networking events that you guys
mm,
hold. And that's a long time ago now. It's
mm,
great to see that kind of connectivity still active
mm.
for women in the county.
It is, and we're linking in more. We're doing a joint one this year with the County Chamber for International Women's Day, and we do. I've been lucky enough to have chaired the National Women's Enterprise Day for Ireland and for the last number of years. And again, we always have a really good event, and we try to bring in speakers as well that people maybe aren't able to access. And the amount of, they've been so open and so giving. And in terms of follow up, I can still remember Chupi Sweetman was one. And
Yeah,
I don't know how many people she reached out to afterwards. Neve Sherwin Barry was another one, the fairy door. She was an amazing character. And like I could list them all, like they just have been phenomenal. And even the likes of Paula Fitzsimons, the co-author of the Gem Report. Paula still kind of cites Wexford in terms of one of the places. She really felt there was an entrepreneurial spirit, and that rural program whose name just escapes me now this minute.
yeah,
Um, like it's an amazing. So there's lots of things we can direct people to as well.
okay,
So sometimes you come in and it's further down the line, and maybe it's a month or two, and said this opportunity has arisen. So if there are opportunities that we think are appropriate, we'll send them out. Like, you know there was a StartX was a program in terms of startup companies that was delivered through SETU as well. So we would put companies forward for that. There's a company there in Gadi, based in New Ross, for instance. We put him on, Fionn Rogers. He went on New Frontiers program, and then he came back, and we're now looking at supporting him, trying to get him into the US market. So, I mean, there's all of these. It's small steps, but it's incremental steps. And, people, they will engage maybe with this now, and then, a couple of months' time, they'll come back again and say, yeah, that's appropriate or that's not appropriate. So it's that, or, even people struggle, particularly at the early stage, in terms of dealing with finance. So we have a very good working relationship with Microfinance Ireland
yeah.
in terms of assisting businesses to get applications in there, and they can raise loans where they might have had more difficulty, say with a main lender. They can
Mm.
get loans of up to 50,000. So that's can be an important aspect as well, getting that little bit of seed funding, I suppose, to get going.
And you're very much about working and supporting, with other stakeholders like this, the
Mm,
Chamber of Commerce, like
mm,
Finance Ireland, which is really good to see. And I think,
mm,
suppose, a lot of people wouldn't realise that either,
mm,
that there is joined up thinking in that respect. And I think that's a really valuable piece, to be honest,
mm.
Breege. Um,
Yeah.
Wear that and they remember that.
Yeah, and I think that was the ethos, I suppose, when we were set up initially. It was a first stop shop. So essentially, what we have to be is an honest broker. I often would get, not often, but sometimes I get applications in, for instance, that are in the leader area. They're providing funding at the moment for, in terms of alternative kind of accommodation, the likes of glamping, etc. Absolutely. No point wasting somebody's time, refer them on. They can avail of training, etc., to ourselves. But I think that's very important. And we've always had a very good relationship with Leader. They're, that we're on cross evaluation committees, etc. So that's good as well, that you can kind of, again, direct people to the right source.
And as a county at the moment,
Yeah.
Bree, where you've a lot of people coming to you
Mm,
presently with new initiatives. There are different
mm,
stages of the business. Where do you see the most of that coming from in terms of, is it tech? Is it services?
mm.
Is
Yeah.
it, I suppose, businesses that want to diversify into new markets, export
Mm,
potential? Where do you see most of that focused in on at the minute, or
yeah.
is it a cross section of everything?
Um, I think it is more so being kind of the existing businesses. It's more business expansion, as
Yeah.
opposed to, somebody coming in with the latest cutting edge idea. It would be amazing. I suppose we'd all be at it if we could do
Oh,
that. So you do get tech, and you do get kind of, I suppose, services that are quite unique, but they tend to take longer to develop as well. So I have found that, somebody comes in with an idea, say in terms of the tech. They go back, they refine it, they maybe go on new frontiers, they go on different programs, and then they come back. And it mightn't even resemble what the first idea was. But there's nothing you can absolutely pin on and say, do you know what, that's an absolute target sector for us. Because I think Wexford, by its nature and historically, is very much, it was agricultural, food based, engineering, all of those kind of sectors were very strong. And it is still to a degree maintain that. Now we have the scurries. I would have worked with Rory as well in terms of startup. That's another very successful business. So and again, Rory actually does, which we support as well. He does the tech meetup. And again, that is to encourage people in the tech industry. So it's kind of like, I suppose, the rising tide lifts all boats. You're trying to kind of get that balance. But if I had to go out, because we spoke about that actually even in the office here, if is there a specific demographic target that we need to go after here? And it's quite difficult in Wexford, whereas you
Mm,
kind of know in other counties, it's very clear, very,
that's
very clear. Like
correct.
Kerry, tourism. You know what I'm
Tourism.
saying? You just, but
Yeah,
here, we've a lot of different things, and they demand different offerings as well.
yeah. They
So
need
it's
different types of
yeah,
support and
yeah,
attention. And one of the things actually, and it's funny, and this is across the board
yeah.
in terms of funding, but whether we're dealing with a one-man operation or a
Mm,
large entity with multiple departments, I still get this, flash in people's faces when I say the funding is a piece of paper. You can get help to fill it out, because there is that fear piece around
mm, mhm,
filling out the paperwork. Are we doing it right? Are we doing it wrong? But in actual fact, there's a process.
yeah.
Um, and there's support there as well. And I think that's very, very important to highlight, because I know the likes of yourself and Jill and Carmel have
Mm,
given phenomenal support to some people who are actively applying for
mm,
funding but are afraid. They don't know how to fill it out, or they don't know how to
mm.
approach it. Could you, in a nutshell, give them some tips, Breege, on the key things that they need to be just aware of when they're completing any funding applications for themselves?
I suppose, first of all, it's in clarity in terms around their business offering. Like, they need to be able to articulate what product or service I'm offering. It sounds very basic. They need to know where's their target, where's their target market,
Yeah,
who their customers are. Just explaining how can they get to that target market,
yeah,
and that the route to market. They need to understand as well in terms of their finances.
yeah,
And I'm talking about basic. What is the cost of, is it cost price? What model are they actually using in terms of coming up with their price?
yeah.
And to see in terms of, is that price acceptable to their market, or where are they benchmark? Where's the sweet spot in the market for them?
Mm,
But they don't have to do that alone. You see, what we would always recommend with anyone, don't, like, some people will ring in the office and say, can I get a link to the online application form? I would absolutely caution them against that. They're much better having that initial business meeting with one of the business advisors or the senior business advisor. And from that, they will get help in terms of filling out that form. So it's clarity, and they do need a business plan. But if you don't plan a business, you're not. Do you know what I mean? You're bound to fail. You do need a basic plan. It doesn't have to be the most wordy plan in the world, but it needs to cover all the areas of your business. How are you going to finance this? How are you going to get there? What is my operations? I'm probably going through all the kind of different areas of a business plan now, but
yeah.
essentially that is what it is, and knowing what you're looking for and why. Like,
And
I had that this morning actually from somebody. They
yeah,
didn't actually know what they wanted.
and it's funny, I was a client of ours, and they're turning over an awful lot of money every year. But I asked him the other day, I said, look, I'll be down to do a site visit, different county. I need to see a copy of your business plan.
Mm,
And like they're turning over millions.
mm,
No business plan. And I said, well, that's something you really should have. It doesn't need to be, all singing, all dancing, but it is a guide, no matter what business stage you're at. We have one
Mm,
here ourselves, and
mm,
it can always change. That's the other thing, but to know exactly, I think, funnily enough, Breege, with all the tech pieces, because people now are trying to balance out the offline piece, and they're going
mm,
back a little bit to pen and paper, a little bit, and they're seeing the value of that too in certain respects. But they also need to balance it out with the right, correct tech to be using in their business as well. And as you
mm,
said there a moment ago, and you rightly said it, you need to more or less justify what your funding application is for.
mm,
Show, the why of it, and
mm,
what's it going to make possible for your
mm,
business.
mm.
Um,
And it's even like I often say, I think our role is to challenge as well. So if you can challenge somebody and say, okay, you're manufacturing, I just take a food one for instance. You're manufacturing a food product and here's your costs and this is what it costs you to do this. Even challenge them, say, have you considered contract manufacturing? Have you considered getting somebody to do another aspect? You have to employ somebody full time to do this. And this is where it's just working smarter as opposed to rushing after a grant that, yeah, it'll bring in the money, but majority of grants are at 50% anyway. So you have to come up with the other 50%. So i- is this going to give you the return you deserve? Or is there another option? Or do you need the bells and whistles at this point in time, or can are you better investing more in terms of marketing and getting your product to market as opposed to, you know, reinventing a complete system or a whatever. You have to understand why you're doing it. And this, I suppose, is where going back again to that bit of consultancy support is getting in somebody to look at your systems before you jump and say, I need a new CNC machine or a lathe or whatever it is, and somebody independent to say to you, well, look, if you get this in, this is going to be your return. And very quickly you will sit up and say, "Mm, maybe not, or is it the shrewd thing to do at this moment in time? Do I
yeah,
have, is it going to increase my capacity by X or Y? Or is it kind of, well, it's great to have there and I can do it, around the same, but I'm not really getting any further output from this or any further financial gain from it. So
yeah.
yeah, it's return on investment really.
Absolutely return on
Mm,
investment, because
mm,
business is about making money and
mm,
making a profit. And
yeah.
if you're not doing that, there's something incredibly wrong. And
Mm,
that's why, sometimes when people come to us and they say, Mags, I need to get
mm,
this, and I always say, first of all, let's look at cash flow. Um,
mm,
let's look at what it's costing you to run your business at the
mm,
moment. And, cutting your cloth to fit and keeping your working capital in the business as well,
mm,
unless you really need to do something with it.
mm.
Breege, thank you so much. What I'd
You're very
like,
welcome.
that was really good, really informative. And I suppose a healthy reminder too of what the Leos do, what the Leo in Wexford does, supporting businesses in the region, and highlighting and reminding everybody that there is help out there, and that it is there. All you have to do is ask for it.
Mm.
And with that in mind, Breege, what's the best way for people to contact you guys at the moment?
I suppose if you contact online, I think all of our email addresses. If you go into the Leo Wexford website, it's the easiest route, and there's an inquiry info at wexfordceb.ie. If you put it in on that one, you will get it. One thing I just forgot to mention is was in terms of the direct funding supports, the in terms of from feasibility right through to priming and business expansion. So we can look at those, but as I said, I think the first point is just contact us and see what we can do for you.
That's perfect. And
Okay.
I can say firsthand
Mhm,
that the crew inside in the office in Wexford are incredibly helpful and supportive to
mhm,
businesses when they come to them. They are also incredibly busy, and we need to remember that as well, that they will always come back to you. There will be
mhm.
somebody there that will speak to you and
They will.
support. I
Yeah.
will share a link here to the Leo Wexford offices, with all their contact details, with this podcast episode. Breege, thank you so much, for
You're
your
very
time.
welcome. Thanks, Meg.
Thanks to all the listeners. And we will be back again soon with more Business Time Live for you over the next couple of days and weeks. Thank you.